Sometimes the future of football isn't always as it seems, especially with exciting prospects. From failed projects to a career dip so bad it's hard to believe it even happened. These are the 7 once promising players whose careers have stalled, and there's no better place to start than the kid who was supposed to be the future of football in the red half of Manchester. Kobbie Mainoo. It still feels like weeks back when Mainoo was scoring for United in the FA Cup final versus City. Still feels like weeks back when he was swiveling, turning and scoring goals against Liverpool in the Premier League at Old Trafford. So what exactly happened to Kobbie Mainoo then? One man and one system. Ruben Amorim, the 3-4-2-1. With Mainoo, it's never been about the talent. Even Ruben Amorim has been increasingly clear that Mainoo is one of the best players at the club. The problem, though, is that Amorim's system allows him to only play 2 central midfielders in one go. And the man who usually occupies the position Mainoo could play in is Bruno Fernandes. And Ruben Amorim has again been very clear that he can't bench Bruno to play Mainoo. Which ultimately means it's a case of Mainoo either having to patiently wait for his opportunity at the club when Bruno gets injured, or he leaves on loan. And the second option isn't even that straightforward because United are short-staffed with players at AFCON, so Amorim actually needs a team. Mainoo's situation is difficult, painful, but it's not the only one happening at a top English club this season. It's the same for an Arsenal Academy star too. Ethan Nwaneri. Back in 2022, Ethan Nwaneri made 90% of Premier League fans feel old after making his debut for Arsenal at 15 years and 181 days. 15 years! Just 2 seasons later, in 24-25, still only 17, he was already scoring for Arsenal against the likes of Manchester City in the league, and even bagged in the Champions League as well. It seemed for all the world like Nwaneri was the next Haaland star at the club, just like Bukayo Saka was, but it hasn't exactly turned out that way. It's almost been quite the opposite. So far this season, Nwaneri has been reduced to just a handful of cameo appearances in all competitions. Didn't even feature in the Carabao Cup against Crystal Palace like everyone thought he would. So why then? Why isn't Mikel Arteta playing Ethan Nwaneri? Well, amongst other things, the main issue is the pressing. In the position he plays, which is as the number 10, Mikel Arteta's system demands high-level energy and intense pressing, which is something that Arteta himself has been vocal about Nwaneri needing to add to his game. It's either he hasn't developed this yet or Arteta doesn't fully trust him. Either way, Nwaneri doesn't seem to be getting minutes with the first team soon, especially after they added Eberechi Eze to his position last summer. Still, maybe there is hope for Nwaneri at Arsenal, only if he's ready to improve and track back. Can't say the same about Ansu Fati, because no matter what he does, his career at Barcelona already looks finished. Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati was Lamine Yamal before Lamine Yamal, and that's putting it mildly. When he burst onto the scene, he was the hottest young property on the planet, became the youngest player to score for Barcelona in La Liga and the Champions League at the time, and became the youngest player to play and score for the Spanish national team. The sky looked like the limit for Fati, until it all came crashing down in November 2020. Fati twisted his knee in a league match for Barcelona against Real Betis, was diagnosed with a torn meniscus, and this was the start of the end. In the space of 2 months, he had 2 separate meniscus surgeries, then a third in March 2021. Even with the injury setbacks, Barca still had faith in Fati. They gave him Messi's jersey number. He signed a new long-term deal shortly after, but the injuries didn't stop. By the time he returned in 2022, Ousmane Dembele had picked up his form for Barca. In the 23-24 campaign, Fati went on loan to Brighton but couldn't rediscover his former self. He still couldn't feature properly at Barca last season, and now he's currently on loan at AS Monaco where, after a promising start, there are already rumours of Monaco wanting to end the loan because Fati hasn't produced. Unfortunately, Fati wouldn't be the first player to lose almost everything because of an injury layoff. It happened to a former PSG star too. Presnel Kimpembe. At his peak, Presnel Kimpembe was a World Cup champion with France. He was a local product at PSG, a part of the system that went from academy to the first team, and then he became a mainstay. Whether it was Thiago Silva or with Marquinhos, Kimpembe became an important part of PSG's team. 241 times. That's how many times he played for the club. And it could have been more too if not for that injury in 2023. Against Marseille, Kimpembe suffered an Achilles tendon injury that required surgery and was supposed to keep him out for 3 months. But then the doctors later discovered that he'd need another surgery, and Kimpembe's road to recovery began. Except it wasn't a road, it was a marathon walk. 700 days, almost 2 years. That's how long Kimpembe was out for. He'd make his return towards the end of last season and even became a part of a PSG team that won the treble last season. But in the summer, Kimpembe left PSG to join Qatar SC on a free transfer. You always get the feeling with Kimpembe that his career could have been so much more, but seeing what he's achieved in his career, the Champions League and the World Cup, he would have no regrets. Can't say the same about a former Brighton star who hasn't been the same since injury, Tariq Lamptey. It wasn't too long ago that Tariq Lamptey became a right-back solution at Chelsea. Back in 2019, he was making his Premier League debut, and with just 6 months left on his deal at the time, it just made more sense to sell him to Brighton with a buyback clause. That's where the problem started. In his first full season at Brighton, he missed 50 games due to injury. That's over 300 games out because of a really serious injury. These injuries didn't stop plaguing him, and in the end, Brighton decided they'd cash in on him after an offer from Fiorentina in the region of €6 million. Just 3 weeks into his new club and Lamptey got injured again. This time was even worse. He tore his ACL in a league match against Como and is now in a race to try to be fit for the World Cup. Injuries robbed Lamptey of what could have been an amazing career. It's been a consistent tale with almost everyone on the list too, including Lamptey's former teammate at Brighton, Kaoru Mitoma. It wasn't that long ago that the Premier League couldn't get enough of Mitoma, the winger with a degree in dribbling. Mitoma had that spell at Brighton where he was taking defensive souls from Joe Gomez and almost everyone in that Liverpool back line to outpacing Kyle Walker, leaving Axel Disasi eating turf, becoming an asset on multiple FPL teams every week. And it always felt like it was a matter of time before a bigger club came for Mitoma. It never happened. Why? Because unfortunately, as good as he was at dribbling, it came at a cost too. Injuries. From an ankle injury to a back injury that kept him out of the back end of the 23-24 campaign. Then further hamstring injuries. Mitoma couldn't replicate the same form he showed early, post the World Cup in 2022. It was around the same time that another winger was making waves in the Premier League, and then strangely enough, Barcelona. But as quickly as he shot up, he came crashing down. Adama Traore. The muscles, baby oil, speed, 99 physicality, except he's facing Lisandro Martinez. He probably needs no introduction after this. Adama Traore. Now, it's a confusing case trying to understand what happened to Adama Traore. He was full of so much promise after becoming a different wonder kid to the rest of the crop back at Barcelona. In fact, by 2014, he was replacing the likes of Neymar in the Champions League, already playing in La Liga. And at 17, with so much promise, Traore decided to leave Barca to join Aston Villa in a €10 million deal in search of more game time. This was 2014, by the way. €10 million for a 17-year-old was more than decent. Yep, he's been a journeyman ever since. Aston Villa, Middlesbrough, found some form at Wolves and then went back to Barcelona for a brief spell on loan. And now these days he's become an option for Fulham on the bench. He was fast, an old school winger in the sense who would get to the byline and put the cross in. Couldn't really make much of him after that. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button to the channel for more content like this. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.